Hey everybody, I'm back. So now what we need to do is build a site. Okay, so I'll close this like deployed version of it. That'll get updated once we make all our changes. So here's our local version running on our computer. And now here's my code. Okay, so how do I want to do this? What I want to do is make a page that every time you hit a button, it's gonna not just show a different joke, but they're gonna keep, you can see the old joke, so it just keeps adding a joke to like a board. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is just like, create like a heading. So like, Chuck Norris jokes. And then I'm gonna want to make a button for like additional joke, so we can add another joke. Okay. And then we're gonna want to put those jokes somewhere. So I'm gonna put the jokes in some sort of like block container. I could use a div, I could use a header, I could use an aside. They're just all divs. I'll keep it simple and I'll just use a div, and we'll just call this give this a class of joke container. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at this so far. Let's see, Chuck Norris jokes. I do want like a Chuck Norris image, so let's go to images.google.com. Okay, let's get like a Chuck Norris image. Chuck Norris. There we go. Okay, this is fun. Copy image address. Let's add a image tag. Source equals whatever. Alt equals Chuck Norris. And again, it's always important to put that alt for accessibility reasons. Okay, so that way people who cannot see the screen when they're using like a screen reader, they're not gonna see the picture of Chuck Norris. Their reader is gonna read them the alt text. So if you don't have them the alt text, they have no idea what the picture is, and also search engines won't know what the picture is. So you always want to make sure you have that alt tag, that alt attribute, to be more proper. Okay, we just put that there, just out of habit. Okay, and let's see how this is looking. Okay, there we go. Let's make this look a little bit nicer. So let's head over to the styling. The H1, I'm going to want to change the font of that. So I'm going to head over to fonts.google.com. And I'm going to look for some fun font. Usually, honestly, the simplest fonts oftentimes look the best, but I'll just choose something obnoxious just to do it. So let's look for something. Just dismiss this out here. Let me just close this for a moment. And let's see here. Let's look up sort by newest. Okay, so we're looking at the newest fonts. Yeah, this is ugly. Let's use this. Okay, I'm going to select this style. Okay, and then I think I can click here to see what I've selected. Let me just get rid of this from before. Okay, and then what I have to do is I'm going to use the import syntax. So what you do is you're going to copy this import line right here. And I'll just put that right at the top of my CSS file. That's what actually goes and gets the little font file. And now whenever I want to use that font, I can just do this. So I'll copy that. And then say for the H1, font, family, Moolala. So now when I go back to my website, say Chuck Norris jokes. I also want it centered. So text align center. Okay, now the image. So that I want to make sure I just target that one specific image. So that image is a direct child of the body. So I'm going to target this. This means like any image tag that is a direct descendant of the body. Okay, so it has to be right beneath it, not like 2 layers beneath it. It has to be like the next thing below it. When you think about the DOM tree and the layers of the DOM tree. So it'll only target that image at the moment. And I'm going to give it a width of 200 pixels, a height of 300 pixels. I want it to be a block, so that way it just kind of actually doesn't try to be on the same line as anything. So display block, And because of that, to center it, I'm going to use margin auto. And let's see how that works. Now you see it's like a little warped, right? Like I don't like that being all warped. So what I can do is I can change the property, which is object fit, meaning how does it fit inside the div, and change that to cover, which will just keep it proportional. Okay, and that's looking a lot better. Okay, Chuck Norris jokes. Okay, and I probably want to style that button, but okay, let's just style the button. Button, also text align center, which that's not gonna work because it's not the button. There's nothing. I have to center stuff from outside the button, so that means I need the body tag. So let's style the body tag because the button's inside the body. Because again, if we go back to the HTML, where is this button inside of? It's inside body. Okay. So I'm going to kind of use that same pattern again and target the body. Say text align center anything in the body. And then over here, I'm going to change this to body button just to make sure I more specifically target that one button. Okay, you generally, to the best you can, you want to be specific so you don't style things you don't intend on styling. Classes are sort of the most specific, easiest way to like be specific, but I'm just being lazy, I guess. Okay, so I have this button. I want to give it some padding. So we'll give it like 10 pixels of padding just to make the button look a little less claustrophobic. So see, that's looking a lot better already. Okay, what I want to do is I want to get rid of the border. I don't like my buttons with borders, so border none. See, that's kind of looking better. Okay, and then we're going to do, say, like background color. Okay, and we'll just say something like black's fine. Okay, and then color for the text is going to be white, so that way it has contrast on the black foreground. We'll do border radius to kind of like round out the corners, so we'll give it like 10 pixels there too. Let's see how it's coming out. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here so you can actually see these changes happen. Okay, and what I want to do is, like, it's a little spaced up too close to that picture, so I'm going to give it some margin. So we'll say like 10 pixels of margin. Okay, so that gives it a nice little bit of space. And this is all fine and good. This is not bad. But you see, like, it's going to be hard for someone to tell it's a button. So you see, like, there's nothing that kind of, like, when I hover over it, tells me that it's a button. So one thing that could be useful is what we want to do is, one, I want to do a transition. So that way, kind of like, I'll give it, when it changes it, it'll change it nice and smooth. So things I plan on changing are things like the background color, which I want to change for 0.3 seconds, and I want to change the color, and I want to change that also over 0.3 seconds. And then what I'm going to do is choose that same thing, body, button, except now I'm going to target it when it's being hovered, so like when we hover over it. So now I'm going to flip the colors, or actually what I'll do is I'll do background color brown. Or actually I'll just do something like light. This'll. And then color brown. So watch it change colors now when I hover over it. Okay, so that's nice. And as an additional touch, I'm going to change the cursor to pointer. So that way, that makes it feel like very much like you can click this button. Because see, it changes to that little hand. Okay. Cool. And now I want to style like the place where all the jokes are going to appear. So I want to, that's called the joke container. So I'll style the class joke container. Okay, and I want the width of this to be sort of 60% of the page. I wanted to have a background color of aquamarine, so this is just going to look awful color-wise. Okay, and what I want is a border. We'll say it's 3 pixels, it's solid, and it's green. Okay, so we can see that's not centered. And the way you center a block again is by using margin. I want to do margin auto. That'll center the block. So now that's in the center. And I'm going to be putting squares in it. Each joke will go inside of a square. So what I want to do is say like dot joke container. And then inside those joke containers, in the joke container, are going to be other divs that have the class of square. We haven't made these yet, but these squares are just going to basically be background color white, width 200 pixels, height 200 pixels. Okay, cool. I think we're good for the moment. So now what I want to do is make it that anytime we click that additional joke button, that a square gets made. So we're going to create a function that like creates a square. Okay, so that way we don't have to like write this logic many times. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a function. So we'll say const add square equals, and then we'll pass it in the joke. So this function will receive a joke whenever we have one. And what it's going to do is that it's going to create a new div, const const div equals, or actually we'll call it square, equals document dot create element, and we're going to target a div. Okay, and then that div we're going to give it a class, so div a square dot class list dot add, and I want to add the styling of square. Okay, the square's inner text, or actually inner HTML, we'll say, and that has to be equals. I'm going to use backticks so I can use interpolation, and I'm going to do like a h2, and then inside the h2 I'll put the joke. Okay, I don't know what the joke is, but I know this function is supposed to receive it. And then we'll attach that to the body. So we'll say const body, not body, const container equals document dot query selector, and we're selecting the thing with a class of, I think it was called it joke container dot joke container, and then we'll just attach that to the container dot append square. And there we go. Now I'm going to want this to happen once right away, so we get the joke right away. So I'm going to add it one time over here and say add square, and then we have to pass it the joke, so data.value.joke. That's the joke we're passing it. And see, like, first thing it does is it adds that. But like you see, like the text breaks out of the square. I don't necessarily want that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the square styling, and I'm going to change its overflow to scroll. So see, now that stays in there, so I can go like there. Okay, nice. But right now this additional joke button still doesn't do anything. I want that additional joke button to make another joke. Okay. So what I can do then is, what I'll do is I'll make a function called make get joke. Const get joke make square. That's the name of the function, because it'll do both. And whenever I call this function, it'll just do exactly what I told it to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually copy this whole Ajax into that function, so that way I don't have to like retype this over and over again. Anytime I need to do this again, I just type in get joke make square. Okay. Now, so now what I'll just say is like we'll have get joke make square happen once when the page loads, so we'll just call it once, so that way it happens right away. But then I'm also going to grab the button, so const button equals document dot query selector button, And then I can be like button dot add event listener, and say whenever you click the button, what I want you to do is run get joke make square. Okay, and so now every time I run this, it's going to add another joke. Now the problem is, see, they're stacking on top of each other. I would like them to kind of be like side by side a little bit. And then I know like that's maybe like the font is maybe too big. So I'm going to go back and kind of fix the square up a little bit. So one thing I'm going to do is say, in I to change like how these things stack on top of each other, I have to do it in the container. So we're going to say display flex, make it a flex box. So everything starts stacking horizontally. But you see now they're squishing each other. I don't want that. So I want them to wrap. So flex, wrap, wrap. Okay, but still not quite wrapping enough because the boxes are too big. So what I'm going to do is make this like 150 by 150. Okay, and I don't like the way they're spaced. I'd rather have them spaced a little bit better. So I'm going to do justify content and use space between on my flex box. So that way it spaces its flex blocks a little bit better. Not space between, space around. Okay, and we're going to get that. It's getting better. Okay, I don't like these squares so close to each other, so I'm going to give them some margin. So margin 10 pixels. So that's looking a little bit better. And again, I can keep adding them now. But maybe the font's still too big. So what I'm going to do is like that's determined over here because I make an H2. So let's make that like an H4. So that way they're smaller. Okay. Maybe even an H5. There we go. Okay, we can see like I can keep adding more jokes. Okay, and then basically if I were to bring this down to mobile size, because I have that wrap, and that's the beauty of Flexbox, because they're all items inside of a Flexbox, it just automatically becomes a one column item, and see, it already looks pretty decent on mobile. So that's the beauty of being able to use like positioning tools like Grid and Flexbox. If you use them smart, you can be really responsive without having to do much work. But yeah, that's it. And then like now let's deploy it. So again, I've already deployed it, so all I have to do is just push up the code. So git add dot, git commit dash m, origin, git commit dash m, update, and then git push origin main. Okay, I'll give this a second, then we'll open it up on Vercel. But again, this is going to also getting updated here on Vercel. So hit refresh. Might take a second. Yep, and you see it's already been updated. So now if I visit it online, see I'm not like on my local website anymore. I'm actually looking at the deployed website, and this Chuck Norris website is working and good to go. Okay, and simple as that. That's as simple as it is to work with an API. Now, I use plain vanilla DOM manipulation there. I could have just used Jquery. But what if I did the API call without Jquery? How would that look like? It would look pretty much the same. So if I go back to the app.js here, well, what happens is that instead of using Ajax, you would use fetch. And the only difference is that there would be an intermediate .then. So I would just have to add an extra .then here. And we'll just say like, usually just do like r response.json or r.json. And then that's it. And then you're back to where you were before. So that's really the only difference between using the Ajax function built into Jquery versus using fetch, which is built into JavaScript. You just have to add this one extra line when you're using fetch. Cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, just to kind of see the process of how you can make just like a simple website. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.